Hello, this is Ted with Oaxray, and today we are talking about Amazon used book and new book guidelines to keep yourself out of trouble on Amazon.com. I wanted to go over this because I noticed a lot of people were essentially defrauding the system on Amazon. And what some people are doing is they're going into a thrift store, they're purchasing an item that is used, they're actually taking the cover of it, they're cleaning it up so it looks brand new, they look through the pages, and then they actually are selling or used books as new books that they clearly know are used. And in the past few days, some people have been caught for doing this. Essentially, Amazon is pretty smart. They have algorithms that can figure things out. And if I were Amazon and I were trying to figure out who is the person who is probably taking a used book and selling it as new, it'd be a pretty easy procedure. So let's just approach it from this way. So someone who's buying a real wholesale book from a distributor is probably going to have 10, 15, 20 of those new books, not just one. So if I wanted to hone in on who would most likely was selling new books as used or used books as new, I would simply look at the quantity that they're selling of every unit that they are selling. Someone who's going to a thrift store is probably getting one-offs or two-offs, maybe two or three of some item, but it's going to be a lot of items that are just random publishers, random distributors, and they're not going to have the quantity that someone is who actually is getting something from a distributor has. So Amazon has been, it seems, cracking down on this behavior. So we're going over the condition guidelines. First, new is just like it sounds, brand new, unused, unread copy in perfect condition. I would venture to say that if you're getting something from a thrift store, you cannot guarantee, even if the item is shrink wrapped, that it's a brand new copy. Why not? Because I know people that shrink wrap books before they send them into Amazon, not because they're pretending that they're new, but because it's the best way to protect a book. So even a very good or good book might be shrink wrapped if the value is over $50, just because the person who sold that book might be shrink wrapping it to making sure nothing gets damaged during the shipment. They send it into Amazon, someone purchases it, and the person never opens it or reads it, and they bring it to a thrift store. You walk in thinking that item is brand new, and maybe it was from one of these people who just do shrink wrapping. So I would venture to say that if you're getting something from a thrift store, just always put at best condition like new, because really you don't know the history behind it. A like new book, the dust cover is intact, no nicks, tears, spine has no sign of creasing or wear. It like new essentially means nothing at all is wrong with the book. You're not sure if the book is brand new, but nothing has happened to it. Pristine condition, everything's awesome. Very good for me means the item has no writing, it has no highlighting, and the book looks pretty good overall. No major damage. And the good category is where I generally will move the items that might have highlighting, that might have some underlining, and might be a little worn on the outside, but generally, even if I see a book and it looks brand new and it has highlighting and underlining, right there, I'm automatically going to move it down to the good condition. And the good condition also allows you to have from the library labels. So we can see that here. So if you're buying an item from a library sale and you have those little stickers on the outside and they say the Virginia Beach Public Library or whatever it is, then you can actually put that in the good condition, assuming it's good in other ways. Use acceptable is essentially the worst condition of all books. If you find a book, it has no dust cover, it goes into the acceptable book. Pages may include limited notes, highlighting, but the text cannot be obscured or unreadable. Once text gets blocked out where you can't read it and just horrible underlining or crossing words out, that's whenever we move into the acceptable range. And that would be things where any text is unreadable, the item is missing pages. They also do not permit the sales of advanced reading copies, in-print books that aren't published yet, or including uncorrected proofs of the books. So if you get any of those things, Sometimes you'll get a book and in the upper left corner, it will say this is a proof copy not for resale. You can't sell those books. So if you see one, just don't buy it at all. So let's move down to the collectible books category. To be collectible, it seems that Amazon wants one of kind of 2 or 3 things. First editions or first printing. So in the front of a book, you can generally see if the item is a first edition on the very first page of a book. If you see it's first edition, then it can be considered a collectible. Something has to essentially increase the value to a collector to be in the collectible condition. Signed, inscribed, or scarce copies. An item can also be considered collectible in those. And advanced reading copies and uncorrected proofs can also be considered collectible condition. So I want to make a caveat to this right here where it says advanced reading copies and uncorrected proofs. Apparently, from what I can read, the sale of uncorrected proofs of in-print books are prohibited, or not yet published books. So let's say you have a book that was published 50 or 60 years ago, and you have an uncorrected proof of that. Now that item rises to the level of being a collectible. But if a book was published last year, it's still in print, you can find it everywhere, and you have an uncorrected proof, then according to Amazon and these rules, it appears that they do not want you selling that item as collectible. So if an item is still in print, you can still find it everywhere, and it's uncorrected proof, it is not collectible according to Amazon. Collectible books do not include former library books, remainder books, and book club edition. And the conditions right here for collectible look about the same, so there's not much more to go over here as far as book conditions. The takeaways from this week and from everything that I've heard is don't sell books as new unless you can get them from the publisher. It seems that Amazon has figured out either an algorithm or they're going by feedback, but they figured out that people are purchasing items from thrift stores and they're reselling them as new items, even though they may not be new. So Amazon is figuring this stuff out. So if you're doing that, stop it. If you have inventory that you know might be used, if there's a percentage chance it might be used, you're not really sure, just remove it. Look at the item, send it back as used, because you can't verify that the item is new according to the Amazon, what they're doing right now. So I would take those steps. Thank you guys very much. Have a great day and make some money using Oaxray. Please like and subscribe. And if you have a question about Amazon, put a comment down below and I'll make a video about it as soon as I can.